Hi, I'm Matt Cogswell, and this is Guitar Talk. I hope over the next few weeks to share my fascination of all things guitar with you. How they're made, how they're taken care of, and how they're enjoyed by people that play them. I hope you enjoy the shows. Okay, we're back at the shop, and what are we going to do today, Stan?
Well, today, Matt, we're going to do the flat top acoustic, we're going to do a Bigsby, and we're going to do the infamous Floyd Rose system from heck, where now everybody will know how to string one of those.
How do I follow something like that? Okay, let's do it. Okay, Stan, we're doing a flat top first here. This is a very pretty guitar. What is it?
This is a 1931 Gibson LO. It's a beautiful sounding guitar.
Mahogany?
All mahogany, yeah. Yeah, with a big sound hole. This guitar projects really well. It's good for fingerstyle and even strumming. Size of guitar will depend on how much volume you get when you start getting into strumming, but that's another story. Today we're just going to learn how to string it.
I love that.
the reason you're probably not going to see me do the headstock because it's basically the same headstock that we did with the Les Paul. It's just that this is going to be different. What you're going to do is you're going to take the string and carefully just put it down in the hole. Alright? Follow it with the string pin and make sure that it's secured. Now if you pull on it and the pin comes out, then it's not secured. So you want to make sure it is, and then I like to put all the strings on at once. And once I get the next string in, I'm just going to get it in there and push, and just going to try to demo if you get it wrong. See what happens if you get it wrong. So you gotta get it in there. I usually like to try to twist that in.
Oh, what year is this?
31.
31.
Yeah.
Now, did the system change down there, or has it always been strung like this?
No, it was also strung with the overwrap like we used to do the nylon strings, and then they would put the steel strings through, but you'd have to use a very light gauge, otherwise you'd break the nylon.
Okay, so there's no aftermarket bracing on this. This is original.
This original bracing, it's an X pattern,
right,
which was designed for steel.
Right, you mentioned that.
I mentioned that. Yeah. Well, I'll be mentioning that again in another show. And that's all I'm doing is I'm going to bring them over, and then I'm going to start stringing. Okay, I left the strings a little slack. I got them. I usually tune them as I get them on, one by one. I'm not going to show you the headstock again. I'm going to repeat. That's basically what happened with the electric guitar. It's the same style of headstock. But as I tune it, I want to have my thumb on the pin to make sure she doesn't move. And if you feel movement, slack the string and reposition it in the slot. If it pulls out and it kinks the string, even though the string isn't physically broken, it'll no longer stay in tune. So you can't bend the strings in the playing position of the guitar, and that would do that. Come on, baby. Here.
You have anybody who could use catgut on this?
You could use this age guitar was designed to take either stringing. But if you're going to do this older guitar, I would not go to regular light gauge. I would go down into extra light land because she projects better with it. And then this is a terrific sounding guitar.
Wow. Really rings.
Yeah, very lightweight.
Yeah, very. Oh my God.
Okay, we'll be right back with another guitar.
So Stan, this looks like a gold top. What are we doing today?
Well, this is a long story, to be honest with you, but what I'm going to show you how to do today is how to string a Bigsby tailpiece. If you notice, I put the bar back here. That stops the spring from exploding. You'll notice there's usually a piece of felt at the end of the bar. If you're missing it, go to Joann Fabrics and get a chunk and put it on there. That way you don't scratch the tailpiece when you're restringing it, but that's what it's there for. And we're going to see how to not only string a Bigsby, but how to do some vintage locks. That we have some vintage locking gears on this one. But most of this show, you've seen locking gears before, and you'll see them again. So in this show, mostly it's going to be about the Bigsby.
Hey, what Gibson stamp? I don't know what kind of guitar it is.
This was actually a Frankenstein. It got beat up. It was a repossession that was pounded with a claw hammer. You can see the cracks that over the years, because I've had this guitar for about 20 years, you can see all the cracks that have come back out, because when the paint shrinks, you can start seeing those kind of things.
What kind of guitar is it, Stan?
It's an ES225 from Gibson, but I created what I call my first ES295T. They made a model like this for, believe it or not, Les Paul's friend. Now, the big thing about this guitar is this dumb Bigsby system. So I'm going to stop on the history of this guitar.
Well, I just wanted to know what kind of guitar it was. I'm sure our viewers would have liked it.
Yeah. They made another model called ES125T, which was down from the ES175, which it shares the same mold. It's the same body shape. It's just a thinner.
I think it's pretty.
It is pretty. I love this guitar. To string a Bigsby, first you need to kind of create a curl in the string.
Let me stop you just for a second.
Sure.
The Bigsby's purpose was what?
To bend strings.
To bend.
Because, yeah, see this bridge moves? So if you bent strings the traditional way, they would go like that, and now you're totally out of tune. So the gentleman named Merle Travis went up to his motorcycle mechanic, Paul Bigsby, and said, hey, make me a device that moves strings this way. That's another thing about these guitars. If you're not using the right gauge, and remember, 10s, 9s, and 8s didn't get invented until after 1960. So a lot of these guitars were never engineered to take them, and if you can keep the bridge steady, great. If you can't, you have to adhesive it, and then if you're really using light gauge strings,
so it's a floating bridge then?
Yes. And if you're using unbelievably light gauge strings and you do have the bridge stable, the strings will actually fall out of the things. These are a pain in the butt to string. You got to kind of get the ball on it. And then what I do is I kind of follow my finger.
So what is that? There's a ball and like a little hook down there?
Yeah, there's a little rod.
Okay.
And you put the hole of the ball, the hole of the donut into the rod.
Oh.
And now you got to really hold it.
You got to keep tension.
Oh yeah. If you don't keep tension, you are going to have problems.
And these are the old-fashioned...
No, these aren't. These are the new modern fancy locking gears that are self-locking. Oh. I just got to get the string into the dang thing. Figures the biggest string's the hardest.
So these are the locking gears?
Yeah, the vintage kind, as opposed to having a thumb screw on the back to lock it in. They're self-locking, and what you got to do is you got to get the string in position and then start turning it.
That's while keeping tension. So
so it doesn't fall off the Bigsby. Yep,
okay.
Yep.
I think that's important to note that we have to keep tension on these. Because you could do all this, you get to a certain point, and it's like, oh no, I got to start all over again.
Well, you're going to keep tension, but you don't want to bend the string.
Oh, sure.
All right, let's go back to the Bigsby again. Now, if you notice, the Bigsby string the string is quite subtle, right? I'm going to move it so it's right above itself. Then I'm going to move this bridge. It's going to move around on us a little bit, but again, what I want to do is I want to get the string out. I want to pre-curl it. Now, if you can see in the camera, there's an overwrap and it's like a little lip. I try to make sure that the lip is on the outside because it'll actually bundle up with the thing. Sometimes it's a little hard to do because they put the lip really close. I want to get this all bent out. Now, this isn't in the playing area, so there's not going to be any problem with that bend. Get it hooked on. Then I keep the string straight. I don't try to kink it. And then I go look for the hole. All right, I'm gonna look for the hole. I'm holding the string steady. This is what a pain in the butt these things are sometimes. Well, it's more the Bigsby than the locking gear. There we go, that's going through. So I'm gonna hold it steady and I'm gonna, oops, come on, that's nice. And then I'm gonna hold it steady here and start spinning. Come on, baby. And as I'm turning this, it's reverse threaded. So there's going to be a point where the inside of this hollow piece is going to hit it, and then the hollow piece is going to be sucked down to the string because the string's going to hold it in place. And should be happening any second now. And oh, I saw a little bit of movement. No, it's attached. There we go. There we go. And I make sure it's aligned. Here we go. I'm going to expedite this a little bit, do a little less talking, and just kind of watch me do it. Some people take a pencil and wrap it around a pencil. You know, if that's a little bit better for you, that's cool. I don't always think about reaching for a pencil because I'm so used to doing it with my hands. Come on, get in there, little string. There we go. Straighten these out before I apply tension. Now at this point, the strings are kind of hold the spring from falling out. It's a little trick to setting these Bigsby's up, but that'll be down the line. Alright, I got it all figured out and it's all in tune now. And the Bigsby's working just nice. Staying in tune. So when you string it correctly, and you add a few little lubrication spots, which I'll show you how to do in some more shows in the future. Next time we'll be back with the Floyd Rose to restring one of those. And I hope you enjoyed this segment. We'll be back. We're going back to the studio, aren't we, Matt?
Here we go!
All right.
Okay, Stan, this is what now?
This is the Floyd Rose system. There's a few variables of the system. The one you're looking at has what they call a recessed route. I'll explain those things at a future time. There are other Floyd Rose systems. They're all designed similarly. They have locks here in the bridge where you have to trim the end of the string. The lock on this one is up on the top. Many of the traditional ones, the lock actually extends to the back. It's an Allen key style lock, so you'd be locking it here, but on this one we're going to be locking it up here.
Just so for the viewers' edification, what basically is the Floyd Rose system?
The Floyd Rose system is a modified fender system. The fender system was designed to actually bend strings, which was an improved version of a Bigsby, which we just did. The complaints was, let's see if we can make it a more stable system. So the guy developed locks. Unfortunately, what made the system stable, Paul Bigsby told Gibson and Gretsch, they didn't listen, but Leo Fender did, was to keep the strings going straight in line at the headstock. Once Eddie Van Halen, who endorsed the Floyd Rose, and Kramer started doing those hockey stick headstocks, the system wouldn't stay in tune. It didn't originally have the fine tuners. So Schaller, who was making the system in Germany for Floyd Rose, designed the lock nut, which we're going to look at once we get into the final end of the stringing process. But first we got to prep the bridge to be strung. And what you're going to, I'm sorry, I bumped the camera.
All right, what are you doing?
All right, I'm going to cut the end of the string off. I'm going to cut it where the wrap is no longer over wrapped to hold the ball in. Leaving this part will only dent these saddles and dent this mechanism right here, the block. As you dent it, being white metal and this being steel, it'll eventually slide out of the tunnel. And then you don't want to over tighten it. So what I do is I use a screwdriver style Allen key as opposed to an L Allen key, which gives you a little too much leverage, and now you'll dent the system. These blocks are roughly $25 each. So to break them is not a good thing, and it's not a warranty situation because you just over tightened it. So I'm gonna relax the lock, until the string goes down.
It's kind of interesting to me that you actually use one with that the knob on the end. Don't they make strings specifically designed for this without the knob on the end? They don't.
No.
That's interesting.
Because all you gotta do is cut the knob off. All right, there's one.
It just seems like a waste that you think that they.
Again, I'm gonna cut. You see that little overwrap? I'm gonna cut past it. Bang.
Some inventor
Gone.
might invent something like that without the knob, so you wouldn't waste it. Just a thought.
There's too many. This is one of many systems, and they design strings to string any system. So I don't know if they're going to bother. There's not enough of a proportion of guitar players in the musical world. That's why they sell other instruments.
Is it the popular system, the Floyd Rose system?
Yeah, it became very popular in the 80s. It is very, very stable in comparison to a traditional Fender. And then there's some upsides and downsides in playing, but then there's the same upsides and downsides with the traditional Fender as far as how you float the system versus does it rest on something, and then does the motion only go downward, or is it up off of something so the motion can go back and forth. If it can go back and forth, there's an instability there. It stays in tune, but there are licks you can't do and perform, and a lot of the players that use full float systems don't.
How about if you break a string during a gig?
You are totally screwed.
That's why I asked. It looks very complicated. I mean, restringing the thing, you got to be a.
This system, when I played in top 40 bands, you know, there's not dead silence is not a good thing. So when the band stops,
silence is death.
If the band takes too long to tune, you will be death on stage. And Floyd Rose system, if you don't have a tuner, I wouldn't even take the guitar out of the case. By the time I got in tune with the keyboard player, gee, the bar left. Remember, as a professional musician working bars and lounges, it's up to the people drinking, and how much they drink will depend on you're going to coming back or not.
So if you're going to use a Floyd Rose on a gig, bring a backup.
Bring a backup without a doubt.
Tuned.
Okay, so that's the bridge. They're already tight in there, I know that. I didn't over tighten them by using a traditional Allen key. This little item that you will shortly see.
A little bit more leverage.
So number 3. And this would create a lot of leverage, and I just don't need it. I just don't need to overextend it. All right, we're going to cut the camera and we're going to start looking at the headstock. So now, Matt, we're going to go, welcome back, we're going to go and I'm going to put a couple of strings on. I'm going to show you how to get around this bar, which is called a string tree. On Fender products, you'll see little screw down devices to hold the string angle down. This device does the same thing, but it does it more not for the headstock or the headstock shape, because you'll actually see it on some angled headstocks. This is rounded, this area, and the more the string sits up, when I apply the lock, the sharper it'll get. So to diminish the amount of sharpness that it becomes, this string tree helps pull the string all the way across this nut. And this is curved down. And let's see, this part, I'm just going to show you a couple of strings, because this part's basically the same stringing as any standard gear, except I'm not going to go as much to the up and down. I'm just going to go down, get it under the tree, make sure that the kink's there, not back here somewhere. So don't wait to put it under the tree. And then the other ones you're going to have to put under the tree. And let's see, get this as quick as I can.
Well, I understand that it's loose and running through the tree, but do you tighten that tree down when you get it to where you want it?
The tree, yeah, well, when you're assembling the guitar, that's when you make that adjustment.
Okay, now once you tighten that down, the tree, then your adjustment is down on the bridge, right?
Yes, once I lock, not the tree, this is the tree,
right.
This is the nut. Once I lock the nut, yes, the
see.
adjustments will be down at the other end.
Okay. Interesting.
So now I'm going underneath the string tree. You might want to pre-bend the string, as you can see I did that, so it won't scratch the headstock. And then I usually straighten the string out and just get it to, you're not as concerned locking it up here because you're going to have locks on the system.
It just seems awful complicated for what you're trying to achieve.
Well, it is one royal pain in the butt ski.